In those days,
Yeah.
it seems it's quite a while ago now, you know, collaboration was not the same as it is now. I mean, first of all, it was harder and it wasn't done as much.
Yeah.
Some people collaborated, but still, most mathematics was still being done in a solo way. Now it's all different.
Yeah.
Guido Weiss was one of Zygmunt's students, and I was very friendly with both Guido and Mary Weiss, and so Guido and I started to talk about things. And one of the questions we were interested in is there was a mathematician, a British mathematician, whose name was P. Stein, no relation. I think he was a student of Hardy. And he had found a proof of M. Ries's theorem that uses the fact that the Laplacian of an analytic function, absolute value taken to the pth power where p is positive, is still positive because it's subharmonic. And inequalities relating that and the Laplacian of a harmonic function raised to the pth power. And so we sought to generalize that to higher dimensions because, again, it was extending things to higher dimensions. And so we found this nice result that if you take the gradient of a harmonic function and raise the pth power, then it's subharmonic to powers p for p less than 1 in higher dimensions. And so that's how we started the theory of HP spaces in several variables. Of course, in a way, the theory wasn't completed until you, Charlie, came along and we worked on it. But a very important thing that happened was, of course, your work on duality of H1 and BMO, which was the spark that led to, I think, the culmination of that. Well, anyway, so that was one line of collaboration that was very important to me. There was another line of collaboration. There was another student at the University of Chicago at that time, Ray Kunze. He was a student of Irving Siegel. And Siegel was a very nice man, very nice guy. He was very nice to his students, and he wanted me to be his student, clearly, but I was already committed to Zygmunt. I met Leon Ehrenpreis, who I'd known, by the way, when I was at Columbia for that year that I had mentioned, and he and I were both students in Harishchandra's course. He got his PhD in Columbia with Chevalet, the year after I was there as a student. Leon asked me the following question. He said, you know, I'm working on SL2R, and here is something about harmonic analysis on SL2R. He said, what is the analog of the Hausdorff-Young theorem for SL2R?
Yeah.
So, of course, Hausdorff-Young is something, you know, I knew from the very beginning when I was in Zygmunt's, when I lectured in Zygmunt's seminar on interpolation theory. So I thought about it and I realized that this theorem about analytic families of operators allows you to prove sort of a rather unexpected Hausdorff-Young theorem where you now have functions, well, it's functions which are holomorphic in strips, and there's some HP theory for that.
Can you say a little more about the train of thought, right? That's very radically different.
Here's the train of thought. If you look at the analysis on this group SL2R, then for L2 you have a Plancherel formula, except that what it's indexing is not number. The Fourier transform is not indexing numbers, but it's indexing infinite dimensional, unitary, well, whatever, operators. Okay, so but there's a strip, and that's along the central line of the strip. But if you have a function in L1, because there are these large class of uniformly bounded representations, then you get automatically a holomorphic function in a strip.
Yes.
So for L2, you get an L2 function along the central line of the strip. And for L1, you get a holomorphic function in the whole strip with a certain bound. So for LP, you should get a holomorphic function in a narrower strip depending upon P. So that seems reasonable, and then you have to just work this out, and that worked out very nicely. And so that had a lot of very nice consequence.
Right.
That collaboration was a collaboration with Ray Kunze. Ray Kunze had been a student of Siegel, and he was interested in that. So we naturally talked about it, and we wrote several papers about that.
We have the dual expertise, right? So representation theory and classical analysis.
Yeah, which I then pursued later. My interest in representation theory I pursued later with Tony Knapp, because when I came to Princeton, Tony Knapp was a graduate student here, and so we started to talk.